want to hear it. I want to hear it. What did Common Man 80 say? Dante had no respect for the law. Absolutely. I agree with that. I agree with that, you guys. I agree with that. Daniel Murphy, cops are slave catcher. Everyone lost sight. Yeah, I disagree with that. Right? I 100% disagree with that. Officers are not slave catchers because you have black officers who are doing an amazing job in black communities, white communities, all communities in this country. And they're not, and nobody's just, no one's slaves. There are no slaves. So that point within itself is ignorant, right? So we have to just, we got to be real. We got to be real. And if you want to talk about it, come on, we can talk about it. I'd love to know why you think officers are slave catchers and there are no slaves in this country. Um, I'll bring up what TL said. But officers treat black without warrants in the same manner. This is profiling. So what about those with no warrants that have the same fate? Um, there's no doubt that there are some encounters with law enforcement that aren't appropriate. There are situations where officers abuse power. This is true. But this isn't 100% of the things that people are experiencing. Why do I say that? There's data to support that. There's data to support that on average, we're looking at almost 80% of police encounters are favorable. Now, one would say that we need to reduce negative encounters as much as possible. I agree, you guys. I agree 100%. But as we talk about police behavior, we have to talk about the citizens' behavior. We have to talk about our people's behavior. Mind you, I policed predominantly black community for half my career. And I can tell you that a lot of the times our encounters, innocent encounters with our own people and our community are easily agitated by the person, not the officers. And what I've seen and experienced working in our own communities is that our own people are the ones that a lot of times are come with a lot of I would say disrespect or a lack of respect for authority, even when you approach them respectfully. So sometimes we can agitate situations. Sometimes we can agitate situations. And then there are times where officers' egos are get in the way of them doing their job. That's very true. But when we talk about, when we be honest, when we look at the data doesn't support that. The data doesn't support that. And sometimes we lean on experiences from others or our one experience and believe that everyone shares that experience. And that's not true. You guys, believe it or not, there are a lot of people who get arrested. If we talk about just the black community in general, a lot of black people get arrested, just like a lot of white people get arrested, and they don't have negative outcomes with law enforcement. There are black people who shoot at the police and still get arrested. There are black people who are apprehended after killing people and they still get arrested, you guys. So we have to be careful when we start listening to certain media outlets. We have to be careful who we're getting our information to. Do your research. I challenge everyone to do your research, you guys. Stop allowing these word wizards to get in your head and influence your thoughts, right? Because a lot of that stuff is not accurate. Are there bad experiences? Yes, but there are more good ones than bad. Let's see. Let's go through these chats. Let's see what we got. Common Man 80 said, but things happened so fast they didn't know all his offenses until after he was shot. What they did know was he had a warrant. What they didn't know, his license was suspended. He was going to jail regardless, you guys. He shouldn't have resisted arrest. You know, he shouldn't have resisted. We need to talk about this in our community, right? I've had plenty of people resist arrest. I've had plenty of people run and I chase after them. You know, on average, what type of experience do I have after chasing after someone? A lot of times on average, as you're chasing after someone as an officer, the moment it's like freeze tag, the moment you touch them, they're like, all right, officer, you got me, right? And they drop down. You got me, officer. Okay, all right, all right. And they cooperate. They put their hands behind their back. They listen. The average time we're dealing with people in our communities, they're just trying to get away. They just don't want to be held accountable for whatever violation, whether petty or not, however we want to look at it, right? And they're running because they don't want to go to jail. That's fine. No one should die because of that. But when you are trying to handcuff someone and they are resisting and trying to assault you in the process, you've opened Pandora's box, right? I tell young men this all the time. Just comply. If you're in the wrong, just comply. What does it hurt you? It doesn't. It doesn't. You create more problems trying to resist arrest. You create more problems being difficult. You create more problems trying to assault the police. No one wins in that. Don't put me in a situation where I have to use force to get you to comply. I tell brothers that all the time. All the time, you guys. These rogue officers are on notice. Man, they should be. Listen, good officers don't like bad officers, you guys. Don't get it twisted. We don't like them. We do not like them. Black people see cops differently. This is true. We need to change that. We need to change that. What does Lucy Mercom say? I'm a great believer in everything happens for a reason. And the reason Kim Potter hasn't found guilty is because she was guilty. Absolutely, she was. She was. And people are tired, man. I think this is why I love body cameras. I believe at this point, this stage in the game, every department should have one. And not having one, to me, comes off as being a little suspicious. I know there's some financial issues. But when we talk about this police reform initiative, we have organizations raising so much money to help the problem. Help some of these departments get funding for their body cameras. Let's start there. And these cameras need to always be on when you interact. If you're doing search warrants, if you're kicking in someone's door, if you're serving an arrest warrant, the excuse of saying that these are narcotics investigators, so we don't want our face being shown. That's an excuse. As if we don't have technology, we can blur the face out when we give it to the public. You guys, So again, I know what goes on behind the scenes. At this stage in the game, body cameras need to be a thing. I feel like you shouldn't be able to even police without one at this point, because it protects the officers, and it keeps everybody honest. Rita Hammond. What does Rita say? She said, amen. I said a prayer. Lord, let your will. Yeah. Lord, your will, your way. Amen. Amen. Let's see. Yeah. What does Boss Hicks say? What's up, Nathan from Cincinnati? What's up, Cincinnati, Ohio? Shout out to Ohio. Shout out. Let's see. Let's go through these chat. You guys, come on, call in. Call in. You guys are real active in the chat. Nobody wants to come up and talk to me. I'm not even intimidating. Who could be intimidated by this smile? All right. Come on, join in. I like to have the conversation, because by you asking questions, other people have that same question, and then we get to really discuss it. Should a lady be doing podcasts while driving? Let's see. Let's go. Let me scroll through. What does Piscinian Empress say? Remorse is running to Dante's aid once he hit the other car head on. Absolutely. 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 Had a super chat in here. Did I miss it? No, super chat laid it a little bit down. Let's see what he says. I need to get to that. Oh, there's a lot. I'm behind. Let me see. Police are the only profession that gets immunity. Police are the only profession that gets immunity. That's not true. That's not true. A lot of your government workers get immunity as well. Let's see. I'm missing some chats. Let's go ahead and okay, Slim Fats, Mr. Jam Down. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you. What does he say? Oh, Don, you finally made it. Don, I'm gonna bring you up.
Yay!
Yeah. Give me 1 second, Don. Let me see about this chat. Don got it together. Here we go. He said, I think the slave catcher theory is long gone. However, I feel like Black people have a negative outlook to police authority because of the history of being mistreated and almost micro-governed. I agree. I agree. So let's talk about that though. And I agree with what you're saying. I will say that we can feel any kind of way we want in regards to policing, but the reality is that we have to do something about it. We can't allow the past to continue to haunt us because every generation things change. We have to move the needle forward. I believe that we have to be proactive in the approach. If we talk about we have bad relationships with the police, the question is, how do we fix it? The question is, are we going to put the weight on people to police in our communities that we don't like? Or if we say we want more officers to represent us, to look like us, then that requires us to step up, right? And put ourselves in positions of leadership, positions of power in order to make those change. These police departments that police in communities and Black communities struggle to get Black applicants to become officers for a multitude of different reasons. So the question is, it's up to us, right, to put ourselves in those positions to make those differences. And I do agree with you, there is a history, but we then have to come together and have this dialogue like we are having now. This is the main reason for this channel, is that I want to bring our community and the police community together and have honest conversation, because there's miscommunication on both sides. And I can translate it for us, I promise you. So I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. Because there's an issue, it doesn't mean that it can't be solved. Don, let me unmute you. Don, welcome to the channel, Don. How are you doing?
Yes, I have been watching since you first started. Avid fan.
Thank you.
Your voice is so desperately needed, and I don't want you to ever get discouraged
Thank you.
because um, we need good cops like you to help us. Because when we call the cops, we just don't seem to encounter y'all. I
Yeah.
don't know if there's a way that we can maybe even, if there's something we can say or do to help that.
Yeah. What state are you in?
I'm in Texas.
Okay. So are you saying when you saying don't encounter good cops, are you referring to within your community?
Yes. For example, I live in Deer Park. It's a pretty well mixed neighborhood.
Okay.
Anytime you have a complaint and you call the police, they they act like they're bothered by it. Um they some a lot of times make things worse. And
Okay.
then they want to leave you with the situation with your neighbors per se or
Yeah.
your community. And for example, I recently was told by one that he couldn't look at my phone.
Hmm.
He said, "There's nothing I could do about it. My camera didn't get it. And
Um,
I didn't turn on my lights before I got there, so I don't have a camera on."
I think what you're speaking to, which I've experienced with a lot of people, is that there's some officers sometimes who believe that the people they're serving's problems are beneath them.
Yes,
And
yes.
and the problem is that we have some officers that forget that we are servants first. We are servants. We are here to serve the people. And you have some officers who are like, if it's not someone, break into a house shooting or something of a crime nature where I can do something exciting, I'm not excited about what you're talking about. And here's the problem. The problem is we use officers for a multitude of things that they're not really trained to do. And this starts to lean on the conversation of how do we reimagine how we utilize our police force, right? We call them for noise complaints. We call them for, the neighbor arguments and things of that nature. And now people are saying, hey, okay, according to the data, it shows that officers are only responding to about 10% of the crimes that are the violent crimes. And so shouldn't we reserve such a trained force to deal with these particular matters and not in all of the matters involving the community. And that's where the defund the police thing came from. There was a horrible PR slogan, but they claim that their true intentions with that was to say we want to reallocate the funding of the officers and put it in other programs to help better serve the community, which I agree. But I'm more
Right.
so along the lines of refund the police, use the money better to have better outcomes with the community. So, to your point, I do understand what you're saying. Unfortunately, we do have some officers that lack the compassion, they lack the empathy to do the job, and they only want to respond to calls that are fun and exciting. And sometimes they look at a situation and they deem it not to be so, but not understanding how that makes that person feel, right? And that's not fair to you. And those are things that we're going to talk about. And so I definitely appreciate you bringing that up. And let me, I'm gonna rotate you out. I want to bring some more people in. Some people are coming in, and
Thank
so
you.
yes, ma'am. Thank you, and welcome to the channel, Miss Dawn. I really appreciate your support.
Oh, no, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.